Greetings radio people, I'm Mark, Golf Zero Mike Golf X-Ray, and I'd like to welcome you to the LAMCO lab deep in the bowels of LAM Communications. From here we're planning to provide you with technical information videos and also some equipment reviews. Today we're going to do some fab and groovy stuff with the new FT-991 using digital modes. This is one of only 2 radios on the market where you can do all audio based digital modes, plus FSK, RTTY and CW keying, all using a standard USB cable. There's no other interface needed. To do this, I've split the video into a number of parts. Part 1 will look at the radio configuration for digital modes, how we've set up the menus. In Part 2 we'll cover how to install the drivers and connect the radio to your PC. In Part 3 we'll talk about using Ham Radio Deluxe with the FT-991 and all of the digital modes that software offers. Finally, in Part 4 we'll look at the very popular digital mode JT65 and how you can get that software working with the FT-991. JT65 is an excellent mode that will give you really good DX contacts using very modest antennas and low power. So let's give this a bash and see what happens, shall we? So on the screen you'll now see the list of menu items that I've changed from their default values. This is to configure various aspects of the radio to enable us to do this demonstration. The radio manual should explain how you change menu items, and there are 14 changes in total that I've made. So let's just look at a few of them. For example, menu item 71 tells the radio which signal to use to put the radio into transmit when in data mode. Similarly, menu item 110 tells the radio which signal to use for the same purpose when in SSB mode. Hopefully you're happy to pause this video, make the changes to your radio the same as I've made so that you can copy the demonstration as we go. So, before you connect the radio to the PC using a standard USB cable, it's very important that you install the drivers first. If you go to the Yaesu website, you can download the drivers for the FT-991 and then just follow the instructions that they provide on how to install it. Once you've done that, you can then connect the cable from the radio USB port to the PC. Once connected, there should be a number of devices that will then automatically installed. These are 2 COM ports and a sound device. If you then look in Device Manager under Ports, you should see that you've got 2 new COM ports. Now I've got an awful lot listed here which we don't need to worry about, but the bottom 2 here are the 2 that have come because of the FT-991. I've got COM3, which is called a standard COM port, and I've got COM8, which is an enhanced COM port. It's important now that we remember these numbers, maybe even write them down, so that we can remember them later when we come to configure Ham Radio Deluxe. The other thing that you should have is within the sound settings, you should have a new device which is a USB audio codec. Now if you actually go into the audio device manager, I've renamed my devices because I've got so many in this system here. I've renamed them FT-991 USB Audio 2 Radio, so that's from the PC to the radio, which is a playback device. Then there's a recording device which I've called FT-991 USB Audio from radio. So let's now move on and see how we use these COM ports and the sound device to get on the air using Ham Radio Deluxe and JT65. So very quickly, just show you now then how you configure Ham Radio Deluxe with these COM ports and the sound device that we've just set up. I've shrunk the screen resolution on my PC, which will squash everything up, but hopefully it means you'll be able to see it. So the first thing we need to do is to define the connection to the radio. It's a Yaesu, it's an FT-991, it's on COM8, and COM8 because it's the enhanced COM port that we looked at earlier. So I said we needed to remember the numbers of the COM port. So the enhanced COM port is the one that goes in here, and the speed 38400 is the speed that we defined in one of the menus. So once you've set those 4 things up, hit the connect button and Ham Radio Deluxe should start. So as I said, it's very squashed here because of the screen resolution I'm using, but you should now see that we've got full remote control of the radio through Ham Radio Deluxe, which is exactly what we'd expect to have. But what I want to show you is the DM780 software and how you use that for digital modes. So there's a couple of things we need to set up in there very quickly, but once that's set up, we're free to go with all of the digital modes that Ham Radio Deluxe supports. So once this application has started, we're going to go to the options and just set up a couple of things. So if we go to program options up here, and then we go to modes and IDs on the left here, the first thing we're going to set up is on the CW tab. We're going to click that we're going to enable serial brackets COM port keying. We're going to use serial port COM3 because COM3 was the standard COM port that was installed as part of the radio. And we're going to toggle pins DTR. Again, we've set a menu item in the radio to tell it that the PC keying is going to be using DTR. In the RTTY tab up here, we're going to enable FSK keying. We're going to use COM3 again because that was the standard COM port, and we're going to use RTS to key the FSK line. And again, we're going to select down here Yaesu SC17 or FTDX 3000. We then need to go to the sound card tab on the left and choose the input and output devices that we need to use. Now, you may remember that I renamed my audio devices, so my input device is called FT-991 USB audio from radio, and my output device is FT-991 USB audio to radio. So make sure we have those two selected. Then the last piece that we need to configure is the PTT, and all we're going to say here is we're going to use PTT via Ham Radio Deluxe, because Ham Radio Deluxe is already set up to communicate with our radio, and we'll key the radio, put it into transmit by using a computer-aided transceiver command. So once we've done that, we should be good to go with all of the different modes. So the first thing I want to show you, and I'm just going to demonstrate the sending before I do any more. So the radio is currently in CW mode. I'm going to connect to a dummy load, and I'm going to type some text into here, and then I'm going to hit the send button, and hopefully you'll hear the radio will send this in CW. So that's sent. It's only sent at 18 words a minute, but it's just sent the text that I typed in there. So that's just demonstrating a CW keyboard. I'll do that once again then. So there you go. So that's a demonstration of CW sending. The other thing I want to very quickly demonstrate then is RTTY FSK. It's important that we select the FSK option here. The other thing we need to do very quickly is just change the mode of the radio into RTTY lower sideband, because that's the default. And then the only thing I'm going to do here is hit the send button very quickly and just let you see that the radio will go into a standard RTTY diddle, which is what it does when it's sending nothing. Hopefully you can hear that. So there's a very quick example of how we send RTTY. Because of the resolution, it's very difficult to show you the decoding of the received signals, but believe me, that's working perfectly as well. So let's take a quick look at JT65HF. I'm sure you've all heard these kind of tones on the radio. So that's the sound of JT65. So let's just open up the application. If you Google JT65HF, you'll very quickly find where the download link is. So this is what it looks like. It's a bit squashed because I've got such a small screen resolution so that you guys can see it. So you need to put your call sign in here. You need to put your grid square in there. Now the important thing is that we get the audio devices right. Now if you remember, I renamed mine so they were easy to find. So the input device in my case is the FT-991 USB audio from radio, and the output device is the FT-991 USB audio to radio. Rig control and PTT, we're just going to use standard PTT COM port, and again this is COM3, which is the standard COM port for the FT991 that we looked at earlier. We can test the PTT and just confirm that that's keying the radio, and I can confirm that that is doing exactly what we expect it to do. And then all we need to do now, once we've done that, is save settings and close window. Now, very, very important in JT65 and any other audio-based digital mode, so that's anything in Ham Radio Deluxe except RTTY and CW, it's very important that you have 0 ALC reading when you transmit on the radio. Now if you look at these signals that are coming in now, you can see 1, 2, 3 very clean and tidy JT65 signals. There's one here that's very, very distorted and blurred, and you can see on the display how blurred it appears, and that's because the signal is very overdriven, and that's a sure sign of using ALC on the radio. So the best way to make sure you have zero ALC is when the radio is in transmit, open up your sound mixer on your PC, and once you've got the sound mixer available, what you want to do is look at the audio that's going to the radio. So in my case that's FT-991 USB audio to radio. Put the ALC meter visible on the radio and adjust this slider so that you've still got the power going out, but you've got zero ALC, and it's likely to be a pretty low setting. The other thing to do with JT65 in receive is adjust this slider here so that you've got around when the noise is there. So at this part of the receive cycle, so after the signals stop, you should have a level of around 0. But as long as this is black while it's receiving, you're in good shape. If you set it up so that it's too loud and it goes red, that means that it's too much volume for the decoders to cope with. So you'll see that this is receiving JT65 signals. This is the decode of them here. I'm not going to explain to you how to go about setting up and transmitting. The other thing to do though, of course, is to tell it which band you're on, and my radio is currently tuned to 14076. That's the dial frequency. It's in upper sideband, or it could be in upper sideband data mode, which is because we've configured both through the menu settings, so you can use either the way that we've set up the radio. But this is in the upper sideband mode. It's decoding and the transmit's working beautifully. I worked an Australian early this morning using 20 watts and a very, very poor wire dipole. So this mode is really, really good for DX with very compromised antennas. The other thing to note about JT65, 20 watts is considered high power, so you really shouldn't be running any more than that, and you certainly don't need to. I hope this has been of benefit to you. Thanks very much. See you again.